for you.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we are we're ready to roll. So we just want to welcome everyone here today as we are getting ready to learn from the expert, Tywon Hubbard. And as we get started, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself as he's going to be presenting, and then at the end, he'll open it up for questions and answers. So at that point, if you do have a question, raise your hand and we'll get to you in that order. But before we get to Tywon, I'm happy to introduce a dear friend of my husband and I, Dean Allen. He is in our area, actually, and is also a leader in the hydrogen space and has experienced tremendous benefits from hydrogen therapy. So, Dean, I'm so honored to introduce you today.
Thank you. Thank you. I've known you for a while too, and I love the way you love people and want to help them. And I love that too about Tywon. He, from day one, when I've contacted him and spoken to him, he's nothing but the real deal. Like, what you see is what you get. He just cares about the facts and educating people on the best things for their lives, and has given his life up for that. So I respect that greatly and have lent on him many times for not just education, but education in a way that people can understand it, not like my scientists trying to explain to me, which is just jargon to me. So he's brilliant at that. Awesome brother, and lots of respect for him. And yeah, no one can teach like he can when it comes to hydrogen, I think, in the Western world, period.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean. I appreciate all them kind words, brother.
Well, it's accurate.
You know, hey, man, you know, we like accuracy over here.
I know, too much, actually.
All right, so are we ready to begin?
Yes, we're ready to roll, so take it away.
So let's go ahead. I'm gonna share my screen and let's get into this. I hope you all have a notepad or something. Take notes if you want. This is recorded, so you'll be able to watch it later, but there might be some things you want to hold on to personally. So I would tell y'all to grab that now, and let's go ahead and get started. All right. Okay, so, all right. So thank you all for having me today. I'm excited to be able to teach you all about hydrogen therapy, and let's go ahead and get into it. My presentation is called The Invisible Medicine, and you will find out why it is called The Invisible Medicine as we go through this presentation. But this presentation simply provides a simple introduction into hydrogen therapy, focusing on hydrogen water, its science, its potential health benefits in an accessible and engaging way. All right, so a little bit about me. So already been introduced a little bit, but I'll tell you my name again. It's Tywon Hubbard for those who didn't get to hear it. And I'm the founder and CEO of H2 Hub LLC, and I'm the creator of H2 Minutes. I'm also the chairman of the H2 Education Committee at Molecular Hydrogen Institute. And I've been a leader and educator in the hydrogen industry for over the last decade. I've been able to teach people all around the world about hydrogen through my videos and through consulting and just working with other research groups around the world. The two organizations that I run is H2 Minutes, which is a free research-based educational YouTube series dedicated to molecular hydrogen. And my company, my hydrogen company, H2 Hub, is the premier platform for shopping for hydrogen products that have been objectively attested and approved for their therapeutic potential. So we also look at other aspects like safety and functionality and stuff like that as well. But the primary thing we want people to know is that, one, the product is safe to use, and number two, you know you're going to get benefits if you use this product. All right, so what is hydrogen? The big question, what is hydrogen? Well, hydrogen is the most abundant and important thing that we rarely ever talk about. It is the father of all the other elements, and it's the first element to ever exist. So that means every other atom is derivative of hydrogen, or every other atom is the grandbaby of hydrogen. Hydrogen accounts for 90% of the universe by number of atoms, and 75% by its mass or by its weight. Hydrogen powers the sun. So without the sun, we wouldn't have life on this planet. But without hydrogen, there would be no suns. By number of atoms, hydrogen makes up about 62% of the human body. and by its mass or by its weight, only about 10% of the human body. And it is the smallest element in the universe. And it is mind-blowingly small. I'm going to try to help y'all understand truly how small molecular hydrogen is. But even with my examples, it's going to be kind of hard to fathom. So hydrogen exists in 4 distinct forms. So these are the forms. It's not including like isotopes or any other fancy things. These are just the 4 forms of hydrogen. So the first one will be a hydrogen ion or a single proton. Sometimes it's called a hydrogen cation. Then you have a hydrogen atom. Then you have molecular hydrogen or 2 hydrogen atoms together, which is hydrogen gas. And then you have hydride, which is a rare form of hydrogen. It's kind of almost like a fancy form. It's only kind of found in complex compounds. So it only likes to hang out with certain people. It doesn't like to hang out with everybody. So what is molecular hydrogen? Molecular hydrogen truly is the star of the show. It is a cornerstone of hydrogen therapy and is recognized as a novel medical gas. And it goes by many different names. So some of the names would be H2, hydrogen gas, diatomic hydrogen, the hydrogen molecule. You might even hear it called dihydrogen. I don't know why scientists want to name things about 18,000 things. It has a lot of names, but what you need to know is these are the names of hydrogen. It's neutral in its charge, and I'm going to explain why this is important in a second. And it's a colorless, odorless, tasteless, non-toxic gas. So in other words, it's invisible. So so you wouldn't know hydrogen was around you unless there were certain conditions it would basically be brought to your attention. And so it's basically an invisible gas. It's flammable between 4 to 75% in oxygen, except for when it's dissolved into water. And molecular hydrogen, the hydrogen molecule, is the smallest molecule in the universe. And so I'm going to give you a couple examples so you guys can really try to wrap your heads around this. So H2 is only 0.15 nanometers wide. That is 17 times smaller than the DNA double helix. So the width of the DNA double helix, hydrogen is 17 times smaller than that. It's 3 times smaller than oxygen, which we're breathing right now. It's 26 times smaller than vitamin C. Everybody knows vitamin C, right? You know, it's a great antioxidant. You know, where like like if you're getting sick or something like that, they tell you take vitamin C, get your immune system boosted. It's 26 times smaller than vitamin C, 87 times smaller than vitamin D, 91 times smaller than vitamin K2, and 128 times smaller than Q10. So it is unbelievably small. So now let's go ahead and do the hair demo. So I've been doing this demonstration for years. It's one of my favorite demonstrations. So what I want y'all to do right now is grab a single strand of hair. Everybody, grab a single strand of hair. If you don't have no hair borrowed from your neighbor, don't got a neighbor, then I don't snatch it off somebody else's head, somebody else's head later, so that you can do this demonstration. All right, get a single strand of hair. Everybody get one yet? All right. So once you get one, I want you to grab it on its 2 opposite ends, and I want you to hold it up to the light so that you can see the width of a single strand of hair. So hold it up to the light so you can see the width of it. All right. You can fit approximately 3 million hydrogen molecules across the width of a single strand of hair. You see that? That's pretty crazy, right? So that's how small molecular hydrogen really is. It is unbelievably small. And so this is really, really important because bioavailability in the human body is determined by 2 things. It's determined by the charge of a molecule, right? So positive, negative, or neutral, and the size of a molecule. So since molecular hydrogen is neutral in its charge, it has no charge, and it's the smallest molecule in the universe, that means it's the most bioavailable molecule that it ever exists. This means it can diffuse all human barriers: the blood-brain barrier, the placental barrier, the testis barrier, the intestinal barrier, the skin barrier, the lung air gap barrier. We have a lot of barriers in our body, right, to protect ourselves. Hydrogen diffuses through all those barriers easily, like that. It can also diffuse into the smallest subcellular compartments of our cells, such as the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell, like the nucleus, which is the brain of our cells, or the endoplasm reticulum, which is necessary for folding proteins in our cells. Hydrogen can get into these subcellular compartments where most antioxidants and vitamins cannot, or basically they struggle without certain particular proteins and transporters that help them get in there. So hydrogen does this with zero effort, has no problems getting there. And so this what makes hydrogen really, really great, because it can benefit these parts of our bodies without having any kind of challenges with basically being available to that part of the body. All right, so here's a video where I touch on this and more, talking about what is hydrogen, and I basically give you all these details and more. You definitely go check it out on H2 Minutes. You know, and this is a great video for not only for training for yourself, but also sharing with others to get their feet wet for hydrogen. And this is my How Small is Molecular Hydrogen video. I go through some other examples to try to help you understand why, or basically how small molecular hydrogen is and why it's so important. And so you should definitely check this video out. There's some more demonstration there that'll blow your mind. All right, hydrogen therapy. So I'm gonna give you a simple definition of hydrogen therapy. So you all can write this down if you want to. This is a simple definition. Hydrogen therapy is the administration of molecular hydrogen or hydrogen gas to the human body to reap its medical benefits. So I'm gonna say that again. Hydrogen therapy is the administration of hydrogen gas or molecular hydrogen to the human body to reap its medical benefits. All right. So currently in 2025, there are over 3,000 scientific studies and publications worldwide. And through these studies, it's been demonstrated that molecular hydrogen is therapeutic or can benefit more than 200 human disease models. There are also more than 200 clinical studies with phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 clinical trials underway. So these higher phase studies are more credible, high-scale studies, or larger studies that are necessary for hydrogen's clinical use, and they're already underway. And so this shows hydrogen is trending really well within the scientific literature. Through these studies, we also see that molecular hydrogen is therapeutic for virtually every organ in the human body, and it has no known harmful effects, which is probably one of the most remarkable facts about molecular hydrogen out of anything, because even water, you can drink too much water and basically have problems. To actually find something that doesn't hurt us is pretty remarkable. And it's had exponential growth in the scientific literature since 2007, with studies being published in the most prestigious medical journals that exist, such as Nature Medicine and Science. So here I have a little tiny list. This is a tiny list of some of the demonstrated effects of hydrogen. I'm gonna read them for you. Hydrogen can act as a selective antioxidant, has anti-inflammatory effects. It's the smallest, most bioavailable therapeutic agent ever. It has anti-allergic effects, anti-cellular death effects, anti-aging effects, improves the immune system, increases metabolism and cellular metabolism, increases our body's own antioxidants. So this is really, really important. It says we actually produce our own antioxidants, such as glutathione, superoxide dismutase, catalase, hemooxidase. These are all powerful antioxidants that we synthesize ourselves in our own bodies. But as we age, we lose the capacity to maintain optimal levels of these antioxidants. So we begin to age and degrade. Well, hydrogen can actually increase the expressions of these, maintaining good health for our antioxidant status. It also decreases muscle fatigue, decreases lactate levels or lactic acid. So when you're working out, you get the burn. Hydrogen makes sure you don't burn as much. It has anti-diabetic effects, anti-cancer effects, and improves cognitive function and is neuroprotective. Now, like I said, this is a tiny list, and hydrogen actually has hundreds of effects that's been elucidated from the studies. So how they're actually administering it is, one would be through hydrogen-rich water, which basically is the consumption of water infused with molecular hydrogen or hydrogen gas. So dissolved hydrogen gas in the water. There's H2 inhalation, which is basically breathing hydrogen gas with specialized devices or with hydrogen tanks. Then you have intravenous injections, which is the direct administration of hydrogen to the bloodstream. So basically they can dissolve hydrogen gas into saline and then basically administer it through an IV. And you have topical applications, such as hydrogen baths, where people can get into an actual bathtub, or like your bathtub at home, and you can infuse hydrogen gas within the water and you can soak in it and you can apply it to your skin topically. There's also gels, lotions, or even creams that they dissolve hydrogen gas into that you can apply to your body topically. So those are the common ways that you can see in the studies. There are other ways, but these are some of the main ones. So if that was a tiny list, I wanted to give y'all a short list. So that tiny list just didn't do hydrogen justice, man. So you guys, I wanted to show you a short list. This is 52 benefits of hydrogen from the studies. And I'm not going to read them all. And if you guys want to, you can take a screenshot of this so that you guys can see it. But the most important part about this slide is that every single last one of these benefits has scientific evidence to support its therapeutic potential for us. So that is remarkable. This is not marketing hype. This is not just words on a page. Each one of these have studies behind them showing that hydrogen has the potential to induce these effects. And this is why, and this is why we say here at HU Hub, hydrogen offers hope. HOPE is our acronym at HU Hub, which stands for Hydrogen Offers Profound Effects. And so hydrogen offers hope to people, because if it can help with this many things, it can help with virtually everyone. And so Hope is also my daughter's name, so shout out to my baby. But yeah, but this is what we say here at HU Hub and what we try to relay to people. All right, so I got a couple quotes from some studies for you. So this one is published in Medical Gas Research, and it says here, the evolution of molecular hydrogen, a noteworthy potential therapy with clinical significance. So the quote says, hydrogen has marked therapeutic potential to help with the top 8 fatality-causing diseases listed by the CDC. We actually, on my YouTube channel, HU Minutes, we actually have a series called Hydrogen versus the top 10 causes of death. We actually show that it just helps with the top 8, but it helps with actually the top 10, or all 10 of them that they list. And here's another quote from a study from oxidative stress and pathways of molecular hydrogen's effects in medicine. So the quote says this: the pleiotropic effects of molecular hydrogen on various proteins, molecules, and signaling pathways can at least partly explain its almost universal pluripotent therapeutic potential. Okay, so that's some big fancy words. So I'm gonna break this down for y'all, okay? So basically what this quote is saying is that hydrogen doesn't just regulate one protein and have one effect, or regulate one set of genes that has one effect in the cell. Hydrogen regulates many genes. It regulates many proteins. It regulates many biomolecules. Therefore, it regulates many cellular processes. Therefore, it regulates many tissue processes. Therefore, it regulates many organ processes. Therefore, it regulates many organ system processes, such as the immune system, the cardiovascular system, the endocrine system, or our hormone system. And because it can do this, hydrogen has pluripotent therapeutic potential. In other words, it doesn't just help with one disease, it helps with a myriad of different diseases. And so this is why hydrogen is so special, because it's one thing that can actually do thousands of things by regulating the cell. And so this is why this quote is such a remarkable quote, and why hydrogen matters so much to me, and why I hope hydrogen is going to matter a lot to you. All right, so here's another video from HU Minutes. In this video, I break down 60 of the health benefits of hydrogen. It's kind of a compilation video of all of our health videos for H2. And so this is a good catch-all video, but I would also tell y'all to go watch all the other benefit videos, because I can't break down all of how hydrogen works or how it can benefit these things. In this video, I'll only give you a taste of those other videos. Hydrogen water? Isn't hydrogen already in water? This is this is the statement I've heard for the last decade. And this is probably the statement you guys are going to hear as you continue to talk with people. And so on this slide, I'm going to break down what hydrogen water is and what hydrogen water is not. And so to begin with that, we have to first talk about how waters are classified. And so water types are classified by their distinct characteristics. So when you walk in the store, right, and then you go down the water aisle, you're going to look and you're going to see water is going to be distilled water, purified water, electrolyte water, let's see here, alkaline water is going to be, so basically it's going to be its characteristics, thin water. And that's how water is classified. There are some waters that are classified by their dissolved gases, such as carbonated water, oxygenated water, ozonated water. And so hydrogen follows the same pattern. But the problem is we all know that hydrogen is part of water. So the first thing we think of when we hear hydrogen water is, what? Hydrogen's already in water. There's got to be some gimmick. And that's unfortunate because it actually highlights one thing, which is most of us don't know enough about hydrogen to even know the distinction between the forms of hydrogen. So we can actually know that hydrogen water has hydrogen atoms in it, right? And or hydrogen atoms make up the water molecule. But molecular hydrogen is a gas that can be dissolved into the water. And so, which gives us its benefits. And so this is why it can be so confusing for people. So just know that hydrogen water is same thing with carbonated water, right? Or oxygenated water. Like it's its characteristics and then water. That's why it's called hydrogen water. And I also like using the term hydrogen rich water sometimes just to kind of help people be like, Rich, what do you mean by that? And now it gives me an opportunity to explain what I mean by that. All right, so here is an example of hydrogen gas and the water molecule. So you'll see here that the water molecule has one oxygen atom, and then it has two hydrogen atoms that are covalently bonded together. So they share electrons. And then you have the hydrogen gas or molecular hydrogen, which are two hydrogen atoms that are covalently bonded together. And this one can be dissolved or infused into this one. And I'm going to show you that in a second. All right, so hydrogen water is simply ordinary water with dissolved molecular hydrogen. But truly, a better definition is hydrogen water is basically water, simply water with dissolved molecular hydrogen up to therapeutic concentrations or a beneficial amount for us. So basically in hydrogen water, the hydrogen molecules are not bonded to the water molecules. They don't react with the water molecules. They don't do anything like that. It's simply the gas dissolved into the water. This is very similar to carbonated beverages, which contains carbon dioxide gas, dissolved carbon dioxide gas. And the water acts as a vehicle for hydrogen to get into your bodies. So I'm gonna show you something real quick. I'm gonna just walk you through this example. So y'all can see me, right? Am I big? Y'all can all see me, right? Okay. So when we're drinking hydrogen-rich water, let's say I have hydrogen-rich water right here, and when I drink it, it's going to enter my gastrointestinal tract, right? It's going to hit my stomach, and at the bottom of my stomach it's basically going to open up my pyloric valve, and it's going to go down into my small intestines, right? And that's where about 80% of the water is absorbed into your body. And so when that water that contains hydrogen gas gets to your small intestine, right here, this is your small intestine, the hydrogen that's in the water is going to come up right to your intestinal barrier or your intestinal mucosa, and it's going to diffuse right into your circulation. Just going to go right through there. Because remember, it can cross all barriers. It just does not care. It crosses all barriers. It gets right to circulation into what's called your venous system or your veins. And so it's already into your body basically within 5 to 10 minutes of drinking it, especially if it's on an empty stomach. And this is what researchers have seen. They can see that when hydrogen water is consumed, between 5 to 10 minutes, they can already detect elevated levels of hydrogen gas in the blood. So it gets into our bodies rapidly, and it follows or travels with water. And this is one of the ways it can get in. All right. So H2 can also be dissolved into any other solution, any other type. So you can have hydrogen orange juice, hydrogen coffee, hydrogen wine for y'all like to drink wine. It can dissolve into any kind of beverage, any kind of solution, and it's independent of pH, meaning it does not change the pH of the water. So those are two different distinct things. And hydrogen water is not alkaline water. Now, it can be confusing for people. And we can talk about that confusion in the Q&A. We can kind of explain the differences of why there would be this confusion, but they are distinctive. And we can talk a little more about that later if you want. All right, so this is what hydrogen water will look like on the molecular level, okay? So we were able to take a microscope and actually look into water. This is what it would look like if we looked into hydrogen-rich water. So we see here we have hydrogen molecules. We have water molecules that are basically, they kind of hold together by what's called hydrogen electrostatic bonds. So basically this hydrogen atom right here is a slightly positive, and this oxygen atom up here is slightly negative. So they kind of stick. But because of this, they form cavities, these little cavities. And this is where hydrogen gas dissolves into the water, into these little cavities between the water molecules. And this is what it looks like. They're not reacted. It didn't make some novel molecule like H4O or something like that. No, it's simply hydrogen gas and water molecules. All right. So I'm gonna have to break some things down on this slide so we all get it, okay? So to begin, I'm gonna go ahead and read this. The molecular hydrogen concentration in water is crucial for its benefits, all right? It's crucial for its benefits. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to, 1 second. All right, y'all see me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna break this down by talking about water and salt, okay? Because you don't wake up every day and then go grab your cup of coffee in the morning and then sit down with your spouse or your spouse or your partner and say, hey, let's talk about solvents, solutes, and then concentration. That's just not what we do. So let's go ahead and break this down with water and salt, right? So when you have a glass of water and you add salt to it, you'll see the salt crystals are in the water. When you start to mix it, those salt crystals are going to disappear, right? And that's how you know the salt is dissolved into the water. And if you were to drink that water, it would taste salty, right? And that lets you know you've increased the concentration of salt in the water. But if you were to add more salt to the water, stir those crystals up till they disappear and drink it again, it would taste even saltier, letting you know you've increased the concentration of salt in that water. Well, with hydrogen, the same principle applies. There's a certain concentration that is needed to get the benefits. And you can dissolve hydrogen gas into the water, just like you can dissolve salt into water. This is the same kind of principle. Now, another thing that would help you understand this concept even further is that there has to be enough salt in the water that you put into the water and stir in for you to even detect that it's salty, right? If the salt levels are too low, you might not even detect that it's salty. In fact, most of our water already has salt in it. It's just so low that you don't actually notice or to detect that it's salty, unless you got some kind of water softener at home or something. But anyway, the same thing applies. There's a certain concentration of hydrogen that has to be in the water for us to get the benefits. And the higher that concentration is, typically the better, because it results in greater effects. Got it? All right. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and read a couple of these. It says the amount of hydrogen or the concentration of hydrogen in water is measured in milligrams per liter or ppm. These are the units of measurement. The same thing will apply for salt and water. You can use the same units of measurement for measuring salt and water. But the least amount that is beneficial for humans is 0.5 milligrams per liter or ppm. That's the concentration that is needed to get the benefits. That's the bare bones minimum, basically. And the maximum amount without using more pressure to force hydrogen gas into the water is 1.57 milligrams per liter or ppm. So you can round it up and say 1.6 ppm or milligrams per liter. And milligrams per liter and ppm are equivalent to each other, okay? So they basically mean the same thing. I like using milligrams per liter, and I encourage everyone else to use milligrams per liter, because if you think about it, it's going to tell you the actual milligram dose of hydrogen gas you're getting into your body every time you drink the water. So if there was 1 milligram per liter, or that would be the concentration of your water, if you drank a liter of it, 33.8 ounces at 1 ppm or 1 milligram per liter, you know you just ingested 1 milligram of hydrogen into your body. That's really, really important. And the higher that concentration is, the better. So, like I was just saying, this is really important because like salt already in our water typically, but it's so low we can't detect it. Hydrogen's already in our water, but it's so low we don't really detect it. And so in ordinary water, the concentration of hydrogen is about 0.2 to 0.8 parts per trillion. So that is really tiny, tiny, tiny. And that's going to be hard because we might not use these units of measurement. You guys might not use these units of measurement to really understand how tiny that is. So I'm going to use another example, and I'm going to use time to help you see the difference between a million and a trillion, okay? So I'm going to use time, okay? So let's say I was coming here today and I was like, okay, I'm going to give y'all this presentation in 1,000,000 seconds, right? If you did the numbers on that in 1,000,000 seconds, that's basically 12 days. You're like, oh, okay, man, why don't you just say 2 weeks, brother? Right? But if I said I was going to give you this presentation in 1,000,000,000 seconds, that's 32 years. You see the difference between 1,000,000 and 1,000,000,000?
Mm.
Now let's say I was going to give you this presentation in 1,000,000,000,000 seconds. That's 32,000 years. You see the difference between 1,000,000 and 1,000,000,000?
Mm.
Huge. And so this is what we're talking about. The levels are just so low in our ordinary drinking water, we do not get any benefits. And so I stated in this way to maybe help bring it full circle for y'all. Our tap water has 13 million times less H2 in it than hydrogen-rich water at 1.6 ppm. This is why we don't get any benefits from our ordinary tap water or ordinary bottled water for hydrogen. All right, so common ways of obtaining hydrogen-rich water. So one would be hydrogen infusion machines. These devices utilize a special form of water electrolysis to produce hydrogen water while altering the pH. This is like Dean. Dean has a hydrogen infusion machine. And then there's hydrogen producing tablets. You guys know about these tablets because you guys are getting to experience them and get to sell them. These hydrogen tablets utilize elemental magnesium, sometimes referred to as metallic magnesium, which naturally reacts with water to generate H2. So this is like Gary Breckus H2 tabs. And then you have prepackaged hydrogen water, which prepackaged hydrogen water basically is hydrogen water that is basically bottled in specialized hydrogen pouches or hydrogen cans. And these are also another popular way. These are just 3 forms. There are many other different types of hydrogen products on the market, but these are the common ones when people want to invest. All right, so how much hydrogen water should I drink per day to get the benefits? All right. So currently right now, as I just said in the last slide or the slide before this one, there's a minimum amount. And so there's an organization by the name of IHSA, or the International Hydrogen Standards Association, which is basically run by a board of scientists that work in this field. And they determined from the scientific studies that humans need to drink at least 0.5 milligrams per liter per day to get the benefits. So the concentration has to be 0.5 milligrams per liter, and they need to drink a liter of that water to get the benefits. So basically 0.5 milligrams. My company, H2 Hub's minimum standard, the product has to hit 0.8 milligrams per liter or ppm to get approved. Because who cares if we're going to try for the bare minimum? Most times, and depending on the person, I can explain this in the Q&A as well, that the minimum might not work for everybody, right? Because everybody's basal levels of hydrogen in their body is going to be different. So this is our standard 0.8, IHSA is 0.5, and studies show that participants drinking this level of hydrogen in their water, hydrogen gas in their water, up to 0.5 to 2 liters of basically 17 ounces to 68 ounces per day, get the therapeutic effects of hydrogen, or hydrogen will induce therapeutic effects on their bodies. And so this is a good range to drink, basically 16 ounces to 68 ounces per day. But the concentration, that's the bare minimum. You want more than that, typically. And lastly, you should ensure that the product is H2 Hub approved before investing. So my company has been testing products for almost going on 10 years now. And not all hydrogen products are created equal. So just because it says that it's a hydrogen product and that it has a good concentration doesn't mean that it actually does. And so we actually try to help people navigate the market with that and basically help them find products that are going to give them the right optimal levels of hydrogen. And on this graphic here next to you, on this guy's phone, this is actually a screenshot from my website. And so I have a page on my website called H2 Calculators. And so if you know the concentration and you know how much water you want to drink per day, it will tell you the milligrams of hydrogen gas that you will ingest by drinking that much water per day. So you can actually track your dose, and that's really important. Researchers are actually using anywhere between 1 to 15 milligrams of hydrogen gas per day via water, and they're seeing there's a dose-dependent effect, meaning the higher the dose, the greater the effect. And so if you can get 3 milligrams in a day via your water, it's better than saying, let's say, you're drinking 1. All right, where to learn more? It is crucial to learn from credible sources. Okay, so there are a ton of voices that are online right now, and hydrogen is trending towards becoming mainstream. More people are learning about it, but unfortunately, not everyone's qualified to speak on hydrogen therapy and hydrogen water. So you shouldn't listen to every TikTok, you should listen to every YouTube, every blog article, every health influencer, even credible sources that would otherwise seem credible, you maybe shouldn't listen to, because even though they're a credible source, they're uninformed because they don't know about this research very well. So what they might put out might not be very good. And so here's a few places where you can continue to learn about hydrogen therapy. Will be H2 Hub. My company is an authoritative consultant and third-party approval company for hydrogen products, educating on molecular hydrogen therapy's medical findings. You have H2 Minutes, which is the largest online series for evidence-based education on hydrogen therapy. And then lastly, you have Molecular Hydrogen Institute, which is a leading authority for hydrogen gas medical research and a nonprofit scientific organization. So they're like the top level. If you want to go like uber nerd out and can't understand anything, then go to MHI. If you want to use it to like validate with a doctor or another scientist friend you have, send them to MHI. That's the place to send them to. All right, so that's my presentation. Thank you all for letting me teach you about H2 today. It was an honor to be able to do so. I hope you all learned a lot. This is just scratching the surface of it. And if you want to continue to learn more about me, you can go to h2hub.com. You want to continue to learn more about hydrogen therapy and know that the information is factual and evidence-based, go to H2 Minutes and continue to learn about it there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tywon. So now we're going to open it up to questions from you all. So if you do have a question you'd like to present to Tywon, go ahead and raise your hand and then we'll get to you. Okay, I see Gaby, your hand is up.
Yeah.
Or if you want to use in the chat, you can, or, in the little bar, because I can't see everyone. I can see Gaby, so I see her hand up. Oh, go ahead, Tywon.
Okay, 1 second. I forgot to do this. Okay, so this is too important. So Gaby, can you hold off for just maybe another 3 minutes? Because I think this is gonna be really, really important for you all to see this. Okay. There's a demonstration I wanted to do for y'all that I did not get to show. Okay, so hold on 1 minute. Am I still big for everybody? So y'all can all see me big?
No.
You are for me, yeah. So and if he's not, just go up to and
yes, you are.
Okay.
Comparison to me, you're always big.
Got the guns out, man. Okay, so I want to do something for you guys because, like I said, hydrogen is invisible, right? So I want to make the invisible visible for you. Okay, so what I have here is tap water, right? Some tap water in my graduated beaker. I'm gonna pour this tap water into this graduated beaker so y'all can see it. All right, so I got about 6 milliliters of tap water. Now this is a reagent called H2 Blue. This reagent lets us detect the presence of hydrogen gas within water and measure its concentration. So we're going to see if there's any hydrogen gas within my tap water, or if there's any detectable levels of hydrogen gas in my tap water. So with this reagent, if there is no hydrogen gas, it will stay blue. If there is hydrogen gas, it will turn clear. So I'll put 3 drops in and it's blue, right? So now I'm going to grab my hydrogen water in this beaker, and I'm gonna open it up.
Taiwan, your hydrogen water looks like it's blue, but it's not blue, right? It's just the label on the bottle.
Yes, just the label on the bottle. All right, so I'm gonna put hydrogen water in here, right? All right, so now we got hydrogen water, right? It just looks like normal water. But if we take this, I'm gonna put 3 drops in. 1, 2, 3. Let's see what happens. It turns clear. Let's do more. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so we can keep going. And actually, what I'm doing here is I can actually count the drops and measure the concentration. Now, let me show you something here. Remember, this one, the concentration is too low, right, to be detected. But if I pour this one into here,
Wow.
we just increase the concentration of hydrogen gas in the tap water. So now you guys get to see what I'm saying, that we just increased that, and this reagent just let us demonstrate that to people, that hydrogen gas is actually present in the water. So make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to do that for the concentration. I forgot that.
And also, Taiwan, if you left that bottle for a while, you'll start seeing where the hydrogen escapes on the meniscus if you just leave it alone. So it's like a double blind, you know?
Correct. If you leave this on your countertop for a little bit of time and you come back, it's going to be blue because hydrogen gas escaped out of the water into the atmosphere, and oxygen replaced it and oxidized that reagent again back to, we don't have to get into the technical terms. So basically, it's going to turn blue.
Awesome.
All right.
This is sorcery.
Huh?
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
awesome. That's a great demonstration. Thank you for that. Okay, Gaby, go ahead and
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that should be one of our shorts. You know, we have all those short videos with Marketing
Yeah.
America, those tutorials. That would be an amazing one to help promote our hydrogen. But my question is, I saw on the slide that you said that you can put those the hydrogen in any solution. So I'm thinking about, because we're promoting our isotonics, and when you were describing what happens with the hydrogen, we talk about drinking our isotonics, because when you mix the powder with an exact amount of water, it opens the pyloric valve. It doesn't have to, you know, go through the stomach, and it gets, you know, right there for absorption in the small intestine. So when we use that and the hydrogen water, does it matter, or does it decrease the isotonicity of the isotonics? Do you know, or should
No,
we
yeah, so
separately?
yeah, no. So as long as, like, so hydrogen is what I would say, it doesn't readily react with anything. It won't interfere with, let's say, the isotonics. But what would be important to do is that if you're going to use your hydrogen tablets, would be to, if you're going to add it to the isotonics solution that you're going to be consuming, you need to add that tablet post or after you make the isotonics, because hydrogen is rather fragile when dissolved into water. Any agitation can increase its rate of dissipation out of solution. And so it'd be best to make sure you do it post the mixing of the isotonics and then consume it. That would be the best way to ensure that you're going to maintain an effective dose of the hydrogen while you're actually doing the isotonics as well.
So don't stir it, is what you're saying.
Do not stir it. Do not.
Whether it's in the water or the isotonics.
Yes. Any kind of.
Do you mean don't stir or don't blend?
Yes, I mean don't stir, don't stir, don't swirl, don't do any of those things. Just drop it. You can drop the tablet into your isotonics. I believe if your isotonics is like a powder that you mix with water, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Once you mix the isotonics, right, and after it's already dissolved, then you take the H2 tab and you put it in there and you just let it react. Don't touch it, don't mix it, don't do anything. Once it's done reacting within that first 2 to 3 minutes, then you consume it. Immediate.
You're absolutely right, because those are the directions that are on the H2 tabs.
Yep.
Mix it first, mix your isotonics first, and then put the tab in, and then don't do anything.
Correct. Because I can even probably, if the concentration of this is really high, but like I've actually done this demonstration with people before where I've actually put hydrogen water and I'll put this reagent in there, and then I've taken a stir and I've stirred it. And you can literally see it start to turn blue, because hydrogen, you're stirring out the hydrogen.
wow.
And last thing you want to do.
Wow. Well, that's great. I mean, even for us, like, I'm like, wow, okay, this is really valuable information.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Anyone else, if anyone else have a question that they'd like to present?
I wanted to ask, the hydrogen waters, it produces hydrogen through an electrolysis system. And is that so? And it's just dissociating the oxygen from the hydrogen and creating hydrogen molecules. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. That's basically what's happening is you're going to decompose water back into its natural elements, hydrogen gas and oxygen. And so when you run that electrical current through water, that's what's going to happen. And it's not going to be obviously all of the water molecules. It's going to just be a very small portion of it. But yes, that's what you're doing is you're going to be liberating those two little hydrogen, those two little hydrogen atoms. You're going to be liberating them off of the water molecule to form hydrogen gas.
But
Exactly.
Tywon, if I may, the important part is not the disassociation of the H2 and the O, but the ability to incorporate it into the water and dissolve it in the water. So it's not coming out of solution, so it's benefiting your body.
Yes, correct. Not all water electrolysis technologies use what's called dissolver technology. Basically, in other words, helping hydrogen to dissolve into water is not very water soluble. Water likes what's called, I guess, polar molecules. That's really kind of hard, but basically just say molecules that have a charge. Hydrogen doesn't have a charge. And so because of that, it's kind of like oil and water. Oil doesn't have a charge. And so they don't like to mix very well. And this is why typically dissolver technologies are really important to incorporate with the water electrolysis so they can actually dissolve the hydrogen gas into the water to appropriate levels for benefits. And this also gets into different forms of water electrolysis. And like I said, this is why there's confusion with alkaline water and hydrogen water, because there's a form of water electrolysis that will produce hydrogen gas and be able to dissolve some of it into water, but the result of that water is alkaline in pH. And so some people think it's all about the alkaline pH, but the thing that's actually giving the benefits is the hydrogen gas, is not the alkaline pH.
And sorry, Tywon, wouldn't you say as well, it's one thing to have oil in water when you're drinking that, because you can still swallow the oil and the water, but when it's in the gas form and it's coming out of solution, it doesn't matter what you swallow with your tongue in your throat, it's gone.
Yes, no, correct. The beneficial form of hydrogen gas that benefits our bodies in water is dissolved hydrogen gas, or nanobubbles of hydrogen. So nanobubbles of hydrogen gas gets stuck in solution, and it takes them a while to get out of the water. But macro bubbles or micro bubbles of hydrogen, they're the bubbles that you see. Like I call them show bubbles. I call them show bubbles because you see them, you're like, oh yeah, look, man, it's got the gas in there. But truly, that gas, basically, you're not going to be getting, you're not going to be able to actually benefit from that because it just floats out of the water. Now like the hydrogen tablets are doing a cool little trick. And so what we'll see with the hydrogen tablets is that it's going to make a basic hydrogen cloud in the water. It's going to get really cloudy. It's going to look milky. And what they're basically doing is that they're producing so many nanobubbles so quickly that it saturates the water. Remember, there's like a saturation point. There's a point in which you can't get no more. But because the bubbles are so small, they can't get out yet. And so this is what's called quasi-dissolved hydrogen gas. It's not fully dissolved, like stuck between the water molecules, but it's so small that it's kind of still stuck in what's called Brownian's motion, basically where the water molecules are moving and dancing. It's just stuck in the water for a moment. And so this quasi-dissolved hydrogen gas, we don't have scientific evidence of how much of this quasi we actually get, but there's likely that we get a good portion of it when you actually drink it, because it is nanobubbles that are kind of stuck in solution. And this is why they tell you to drink the tablet within the first 2 to 3 minutes, because they're trying to maximize that concentration of hydrogen that you're going to get from the tablet.
Awesome. Now, is there an advisable temperature, or does temperature is that kind of a variable in all of this as far as the liquid?
Yeah. So I would definitely say you would want to have your, hydrogen water in typical normal drinking water temperatures. The higher the temperature, the faster the rate of dissipation. So it's going to come out of solution. And
So would you say room temperature, or like if it's cold?
Anything between like 50 degrees, right? And like 77 to 75 degrees. Anything around that is a very good optimal temperature for drinking hydrogen water, because the faster as the temperature goes up, the rate of dissipation goes up. As the temperature goes down, the hydrogen retention increases, meaning how long the water can kind of hold on to the hydrogen, or how slow hydrogen dissipates. I mean, how fast hydrogen dissipates slows down as the temperature decreases.
Okay.
And this is where it's kind of important to make sure you're not, putting it in like tea or hot water or something like that.
Right.
Like most
And it's better in colder water, right?
Yeah. Yes,
in
correct.
colder water, right?
Room temperature to colder water.
The other question
the
I
hot blood.
had, the other question I have is that I work on the road, so I use a water filter to clean my water. So I use tap water, that's my drinking water, what comes out of the filter. Now I notice in some of the places that I stay at, they have a water softener. And the water softener, of course, it's great for the hotel rooms because it doesn't create salt deposits and things like that. But that water has a harder time going through the filter than other tap waters. So my question here is that one, the water I'm getting out of it, and then what can you say about that? I mean, is there a polarity in saltwater systems or any of the water systems that would be less beneficial for the use of hydrogen water?
Yeah, I would say, well, I would need to know a little bit more about I would need a little bit more about your filter and some of the details. But what I would say is that hydrogen does seem to like to dissolve better in low mineral solutions rather than high mineral solutions. Now it's not significant, but it does like to dissolve better in, let's say distilled water, right? It has no minerals. There's a certain percentage, like 10, 15% more hydrogen can dissolve into the solution. And so I wouldn't say drinking hard water or dissolving into hard water is probably the best way about going to produce hydrogen-rich water. And that doesn't also mean you have to drink it with no minerals or anything like that. But that would be kind of what I would speak to as far as answering your question.
And I see that Erica, you had a question.
I do. First, I just want to thank you, Tywon, for all this fabulous information. So I put a couple in the chat. If you could please shed light on the 12 ppm that comes from an H2 tab, like such as the one that Market America, Gary Brecka has put out, versus what I've seen is like 3,000 ppm from machines. Is that false marketing? Is that, and just how hot do you really need 3,000 ppm? I've been using 3 of the H2 tabs, and or 3 to 4 per day, and they seem to be effective. But I was hoping you could shed light on that because there's such an extreme difference.
Yeah. So I'll speak to that 3,000 ppm first, and then I'll talk about the tablet. So that 3,000 ppm is likely what you're seeing is meant to be 3,000 ppb, parts per billion. So when you see 3,000 ppb, that converts to 3 ppm. So that's what that means. Some people like to use that ppb because it looks impressive, big number, but really 4,000 ppb is just 4 ppm.
That's great news.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that. I definitely read it wrong.
Yeah, okay. Because I was gonna say to actually produce 3,000 ppm, you would need something like 1,000 psi. Yeah. You would need crazy amounts of pressure. You would basically be creating a bomb.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we had a request if you could kind of repeat that information, because that's super important right there. Yeah. Could you repeat that again, the ppb versus the ppm one more time for us?
Yes. It's really important.
So ppb, so for ppb, 3,000
parts per billion
converts to 3 ppm.
Right.
4,000 ppb converts to 4 ppm. So basically just divided by 1,000. So that's basically what it is. If you see 1,000 ppb, that's 1 ppm.
The same. So 12. So to compare, 12 ppm is really quite high. It's 4 times what the machines are promising.
Yes, correct. But there
Okay.
is stipulation
Good
with
to know.
there's kind of a, I would say, a stipulation, or that I would say, with the 12 ppm. So how that 12 ppm is achieved is not directly through just the dissolving it into water. So what ends up happening is basically what the company's doing, or the inventor of this tablet has basically done, is basically when you dissolve it into water, you can look at the laboratory reports, it actually produces something around 8 ppm of hydrogen in the water, right? Which is still a great concentration. But what they're doing is basically, because that magnesium is continuing to react, when you drink it, that magnesium will continue to react and it'll hit your stomach acid, right? And so not all the magnesium reacts by just being in the water. But when you consume it and hit your stomach acid, then the other parts of that magnesium reacts, and therefore you get the whole kind of 12 ppm.
Wow.
Now, more research to I would say, to actually want to claim that from a scientific perspective of saying like every person is going to get 12 ppm every time they drink, when they use the tablet, is nothing's universal like that. There's always losses. So like a good thing that I like to do is, I like to talk, when I talk about tablets, I don't like to talk about its ppm. I like to talk about the overall milligrams that a person is going to receive, because this kind of goes through all the ppm fluff and people don't have to worry about it. So you could say confidently that you're going to get anywhere between 3 to about 5 milligrams of H2 in your body per tablet. The conservative number is 3, the high side is 5. I like to pitch on the conservative side just because we need a little more research. But either way, 3 ppm for 1 tablet and 500 milliliters of water, or 16 ounces of water, I would say 3 milligrams is great. That's fantastic. You can drink 2 of those a day and you got what you would classify as a very, very effective dose. And this is why tablets are so popular.
That's awesome.
And does it build, I think you may have addressed this, I apologize if you have, build over time? So if you take 1 per day, does it build over time? I guess
Yeah, so are you saying like, will you need to continue to take more?
I think
time?
she's saying half-life, Tywon.
I'm asking if you, so the inclination would be to take, I mean, I know my inclination is to take more, like more is better, right? But more is not always better with anything, let alone supplements. So my question is, do we need, I think you really addressed this. You said some people will get an effect right away and other people will get an effect over time. So if we're not getting an effect right away, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need more, but that we need to be patient and wait for it to take its effect on the body.
Correct. I would say the best rule of thumb that I try to help people with is to follow the administration methods that are actually outlined in the studies. And so what you see in studies right now is they're administering anywhere between 1 to 3 tablets per day. That's
even of the 12 ppm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said 1 to 3.
1 to 3 tablets per day and
Okay,
6
perfect.
water. Sometimes you'll even get them to do it in about 8 ounces of water. There's some studies that do that. This is a good model to follow because it keeps you kind of under the recommended daily allowance of magnesium. So like the actual downside, or I would say the problem or like the con for tablets would be that you're adding magnesium to the water, which is good, right? I mean, a lot of us are magnesium deficient, so it's really great. But more magnesium can lead to loose stools. It can mess with the
I don't find that a lot with my clients, but so you said 8 ounce. Could you repeat the amount of ounces of water with respect to the 1 to 3 tabs that
yes
reference? I missed.
Right. So like the studies used between 8 ounces to 16 ounces with 1 tablet 1 to 3 times per day.
Okay, got it.
Awesome. Well, I know we are wrapping up on our time, and we definitely want to respect your time, Tywon and Dean. Thank you guys for taking your time out to be with us and to educate us, because we are, as you can see, we are very hungry for the education. So we do appreciate that.
I'm enjoying it. I actually got a few more minutes if you guys want to go a little longer, but I mean, I
Is
can
there
answer.
a way we can reach out to you, Tywon? What is the best way to reach out to you if we have more questions?
Yeah, the best way is just to go to HU Hub and then contact me directly, or you can have my email. I could throw it into the chat. That's another way.
That would be very generous of you.
Yeah, so you can go ahead and here, I'll put it in the chat, you guys.
Thank you.
At huhub.com.
I want to add a little something. One of the things that we looked at when showing Core 3 Health, as the benefits of NAD+. And in the breakdown of all the benefits, there was one word that I didn't know about. I had to look it up, sirtuins. So when I looked that up, I found that the sirtuins is a process that the body uses, to be able to create hydrogen in the bloodstream. So it uses glucose molecules to do that. So we already have a benefit coming from the NAD+. Now, take that in account and read about those things, because there is a benefit of NAD+ along with hydrogen too.
Correct.
So,
correct. See some research that shows that hydrogen modulates or basically regulates all 7 situagens, and that it actually helps with the NAD+ ratio within the cell, maintaining the cell's health, and actually giving it anti-aging effects. So this is one of the ways hydrogen actually mediates its effects, is through regulating NAD+. And so there can actually be a synergistic effect that could actually take place by actually taking the hydrogen with your supplement with NAD+. So this is really important. This is why I was talking about why it's very hard for me to give a tiny list. And it was even hard for me to give the short list. There's so much I can explain to you. I mean, like, for example, you just said about hydrogen being in our bodies, right? So for example, our guts naturally produce molecular hydrogen when we eat non-digestible carbohydrates or fiber, right? So like our little microbes, about 14% of the hydrogen gas generated from our intestinal colonic fermentation, basically from our intestines, about 14% of that gets into our bloodstream, right? And just like I was talking to you about how it travels with water, it gets into our bloodstream. The other basically, I guess that'd be 75% almost, basically gets out through flatulence. You kind of let it go. And so, but that forms a basal level of hydrogen gas in our blood at all times, kind of thing. And so some people produce more methane, others produce more hydrogen, but in general, it forms this basal level that basically our cells get used to, right? And so this is where I could come to your house, or maybe right now, and you can use an instrument and we can measure the ppm, the breath ppm of hydrogen coming off of your breath without you drinking hydrogen water, because you're actually producing it from your gut after your last meal. But because your body's so used to those levels of H2, you don't get any benefits from it. So when you drink hydrogen-rich water, you spike your blood levels of hydrogen and your cellular levels of hydrogen, causing this favorable response. And now your cells are like, oh my goodness, this is great. And you get all these benefits from it. And they're actually figuring out through the scientific research that our fruits and vegetables aren't just good for us because of the antioxidants and minerals. Our fruits and vegetables are good for us because we increase a lot of hydrogen with them. And 3 times, there's actually some studies coming out of Japan where they saw people who had really good diets with fruits and vegetables, and they tracked their hydrogen levels throughout the day. And it mimics the same thing that's happening with hydrogen-rich water. When you drink hydrogen-rich water 3 times a day, spikes your blood levels. And these people are healthy and living long lives and everything. So this is why I say we need oxygen to survive, but we need hydrogen to thrive.
I love that, Tywon. I just sent a message to everyone speaking about NAD+ as being an oxidizing agent. I think that will summarize stuff if you explain the statement there as far as them understanding oxidation reduction.
Yes, yeah. Talking about the NAD plus ratio and then the NADH. How do I go ahead and make this simple for you guys? Basically, these molecules are very energy dense molecules that are necessary for our mitochondria. They're very beneficial for our health and producing energy and a lot of different metabolical processes in our bodies. So when this ratio between NAD plus and then NADH gets dysregulated, it can cause all kind of harm for our cells, all right? hydrogen restores the proper ratio and can actually increase increase the levels of this in our cells to benefit the cell and benefit the processes of our tissues and organs and stuff like that with NAD+. And so to keep it simple, to haven't getting into too much crazy biochemistry with someone when understanding everything, basically hydrogen's able to restore the right ratios for NAD+ and actually NADH and be able to ensure that the cell can run optimally.
Nice.
Hey, Tywon, I had a question from one of our franchise owners. Can you talk real quickly about the quality of the H2 tabs that Gary Brecka is bringing to us, and would this be a product you would endorse?
Yeah. So basically, the product itself, that Gary Brecka is promoting, these tablets would be basically I would say one of the most credible, studied, and approved hydrogen tablets that are on the market. There are other hydrogen tablets that are on the market, different types of hydrogen tablets. There are ingestible hydrogen tablets. This is what Gary Brecka is called is an open container hydrogen tablets. And then there are these ingestible hydrogen tablets use basically calcium, and they don't use magnesium. But anyway, this particular tablet has been, it actually has been demonstrated to be safe, and actually has some FDA status going on with this as well. They've done a ton of research on these tablets, and these tablets have been used repeatedly in clinical studies, passing, basically being approved by different health boards that are necessary for even using the product in the clinical studies for humans. And so this is why Gary Brecka is probably opting for this tablet and trying to bring this tablet to market, because it has a lot of efficacy for safety, and it also has a lot of evidence on the scientific, in the scientific literature. And yes, we would recommend this tablet. I've been testing this tablet a long time, way before Gary even had this tablet. So like the actual company that manufactures this tablet, I've been knowing the owner for many years. And so very, very accustomed to this tablet.
That's awesome.
Tywon, one more thing, and we'll close out the meeting for you. We certainly appreciate all the information. Number one, I know that everybody that was on this meeting today, I'm sure they wish they had 5 or 10 of their friends as guests that were able to join us. So we're hoping maybe in the future we can do another meeting like this. And we may have to also possibly consider one in the evening for people that work. Would you be open for something like that?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm always down for educating, help people know more about H2. I think it's going to be beneficial for you all as you guys continue to try to help others and help yourselves with it. That needs to be done in the right way, and that comes through education. And so if you don't have that education, then you're just kind of left with your own knowledge, your own devices, or what I said, that kind of like the TikTok warriors in the blog articles. Unfortunately, there's just so much bad information out there. So yeah, I would always be open to helping you guys learn a little more about H2.
And finally, one thing for all the UFOs that are here, it seems like everybody that started with us has stayed with us. How powerful do you think if we were to invite Tywon to one of our locals or regional conventions to teach like he's taught us today? How powerful would that be for educating people?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Love to see you again.
Oh man. So I see, that would be awesome. I would love to be able to come out and be able to teach you guys in person, get to shake some hands and rub some elbows with everybody and get to help y'all learn a bit more about H2. I see all kind of wonderful questions over here on the side, and it's so hard for me not to help answer these questions for you guys. See long COVID. I actually have a video that we produced for hydrogen therapy for COVID, and it's about a 48-minute video covering like world leaders and all the studies. And it actually got pulled.
Boy, Tywon, 48 minutes.
48 minutes, man. Wow. I covered 90. I have 90 quotes from like 25 articles. Now, and I actually show that hydrogen was being used in hospitals to treat COVID-19. And there is some evidence we have for studies for hydrogen for long COVID. In fact, there's one study that showed that hydrogen was more effective for long COVID than regular exercise training and rehabilitation therapy.
And that's on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so basically I can go ahead and get that video out to Peter, and then he can probably share with everybody somehow.
I would love to have that because I work with long COVID patients.
Oh yeah, so yeah, you would love it because there's so much hydrogen from reducing dyspnea in the lungs and increasing surfactant, all kind of crazy stuff that they were finding out about what hydrogen
Well, it
does.
also helps with I saw one of in your list, it mentions muscle issues as well.
Yes,
Muscle fatigue, which
Can
is
I-
something we're seeing a lot of.
So yeah, so definitely I can share that video for you guys if you're interested in that as well.
I'll
I
email
met-
you for it. Thank you.
I imagine people with cancer would benefit tremendously from this as well.
Man, you guys.
Yeah, I know, right?
Not gonna let you hang up.
Yeah, it supports immunity.
Talk with people about this all the time. Yes, molecular hydrogen has shown real great promise with cancer in a multiplicity of ways. And in fact, there's one article that demonstrated with hydrogen inhalation that it was all stage 3, stage 4, that there was like the medium remission time period was basically 21 to like 50 days from breathing 3 to 8 hours per day. So some of these cancers, people were reaching remission in that time frame. So it's just really impressive data. Hydrogen has been shown to enhance the viability and actually the viability of healthy cells and differentiate between healthy cells and cancer cells within the same tissue. Yeah. Meaning it can actually increase the viability of healthy cells and actually kill and activate what's called cellular apoptosis. It can actually decrease the telomeres on cancer cells, which is kind of the end cap of DNA in cancer cells, inducing cancer cell death. So it's killing cancer cells while actually keeping the other cells healthy. And this is why they've actually seen in some studies that they give hydrogen along with chemo.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, right. So that answered another question. So people that are they're going through chemo treatment, the hydrogen tablets and hydrogen water would definitely be a benefit.
Mark, if I may answer, what I've experienced anecdotally is this, that people who are going through chemo or radiation have better effects of the chemo and radiation with less side effects of the chemo and radiation, which is a double positive, right? So it's working better for them and then less negatives. Right.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
Tywon, would you be available next Monday if we had a meeting like this? We don't necessarily have to present the full information because we can leave people in the chat your video, but do more of a Q&A because it sounds like everybody's got a lot of Q&A questions. Would you possibly be available, you and Dean, for that?
Yeah, no, it's a possibility. I have to check my schedule and see if I have time for it. But if I do have time, I'll definitely make some time for you guys.
Okay, that'd be wonderful.
Awesome. I think that because I'm looking at the questions, I'm like, wow, there's no way to get through all of this. But I know you did leave your email as well, so that's a point if there's something specific that someone would like to directly get with Tywon on. But even better, to get you back here virtually in person, and we can get those questions answered. But I know I have like just tons of notes and just hungry to learn more. So we just appreciate you again, both you, Tywon and Dean, for being here with us and helping us learn and grow in this new space. It's like, wow, it's one of those things like you don't know until you know. And then it's like, oh my gosh, how do we not know until now? So we just appreciate you guys. And we look forward just to continuing this conversation, to learn and grow together and all of the benefits of hydrogen. So thank you so much.
You are welcome.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
We're all changing the world together.
That's right. Yes. That's wonderful. Well, you all be blessed. And until next time, what would you say? Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Have a great day, everyone.
Stay
Thank
hydrated.
you. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Tywon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Awesome.